popular
Yes.
Facebook conundrum that we all face, to do it or not to do it. And anyway,
So I'm approaching this whole discussion from a place of confusion and indecision. So this summer I used Facebook in my class. So what I'm going to do is talk a little bit about how that went and the results I had and maybe why I'm not using it now, but why I'm thinking about going back to it next semester. So that's where the indecision comes in. So the whole thing started because of something I kept hearing over and over from students in my in-person classes who also took classes online, and also just from, not necessarily from the students themselves, but during student evaluations. I feel very isolated. I feel like I'm working all by myself. I'd like to be able to talk to my peers. I'd like to be part of a community. And my answer to that, up until Facebook, was to have a discussion board in my Blackboard shell. And at the end of the semester, I would look at it, and most of the time there would be exactly 0 posts from anybody, or maybe 1 or 2 people would use it a couple times. And I talked to people about that, basically quizzing my in-person classes relentlessly, most students take online classes too during their breaks. And to them, to get there, first they have to go to Yavapai College's website. And then they have to choose to do that.
could you just move over in front of that camera just for a moment so people can talk from there for a minute, just so people could see you?
You put me in a box?
Yeah, look at say hello.
Like the
There you
mic.
go.
Okay, okay.
There you go.
I feel like
Go
I
ahead.
hold a number. I'm Matt Piercy.
No,
Okay.
I just wanted to see who's talking.
Okay. So a student has to decide to go to Yavapai's website, and then they have to decide to log in, and then they have to decide to go to Blackboard, and then they have to decide to go to my class, and then they got to decide to go find the discussion board, and then they got to go to the discussion board. And for most people, that's just too many clicks for some reason to do with any frequency. And so I kind of came to the conclusion that what I'm doing is expecting them to come to me. So what I decided to do at the beginning of the summer was to try to go to them. And so to go to them, I need to go where they're at, where it's easy, where they already know how to work everything, and where they're at all the time. And so that's why I picked Facebook. I actually looked some stuff up online this morning, and so the new total, I went to a conference this summer and they were giving a talk on Facebook, and the guy was like, there are 500 million people in the world on Facebook. And I was like, wow. Well, this morning there's 800,000. And in the US, there's about I should be million. Yeah, did I say 1,000? So there's about 800 million people on Facebook. In the US, there's about 160 million. And one of the really cool things is it's not like it's just the younger people and not the older people or vice versa. It's everybody. Okay, so I kind of came to the conclusion, here I have this tool that everybody's on. And the nice thing for me, because I have a lot of classes to prep just like everyone else, everyone on Facebook already knows how to use it. So there's 0 training involved. So I can use this medium to communicate with them. They're on it all the time. So another stat I read this morning is that at least, I couldn't find the demographics or the numbers for older people, but people up through the age of about 35 check their Facebook about 10 times per day. On average, most of them check it within 10 minutes of having sex. And so this is perfect. They're on this thing all the time. And so if I can go to that place, they know how to use it. They're there all the time. And so if they're willing to go for it, then I can kind of become part of their life in a way, which was my first concern. Like, do they want me in their space? And that was immediately followed by, do I want to be in their space? Because there's definitely some issues there that I still kind of struggle with. But what I decided to do is to give it a try. So because of all those reasons, I decided to try to incorporate Facebook into my class. And I tried to come up with what were, for me, some pretty comfortable best practices. And so for me, I have my own Facebook. Just because of all the stuff you see in the world, every picture on my Facebook is appropriate for anyone to see, including my mother. Okay, but that's not always true for everybody's Facebook. And so what I did for school was create an entirely different Facebook. So there's like my real one that's for my life, and then there's a different one that's for my work. And then the second thing I did was I sent all the students a letter saying, this is why I want to do this. I want you to feel more connected. I want you to be part of a community, but don't friend me. It's inappropriate. I just wanted to be honest. And then I kind of learned on Facebook too that you don't have to be someone's friend to communicate on the level that I wanted to. If you want, you can start a Facebook page and then you can start a group. So I just started a group for Bio 201 summer 2011. And I invited the students to join it. And so when they joined it, everything on the group page, they could see, I could see. You can set a bunch of different parameters to make it so anyone in the world can see it. But I could not see their page, and they couldn't see mine. And so for me, that was kind of a comfort level of being professional. So I couldn't see them doing keg stands on the weekend. You know, I don't want to see that part of their life, and they couldn't see me doing keg stands on the weekend. There's like, that separation was enforced. But we could still communicate using the positive parts of Facebook. Okay, now, so the first thing I came to, I'm just not really, I can show you how to do stuff if you want, but I'm more just talking about Facebook with kind of curious to get feedback. I mean, I can show you how to make a group if you really want it. But what I'm more curious about is what other people are doing with it and what you think about it. So one thing, when you have a Facebook group, when you, as the grand wizard of the group, you get to choose the rules. So you can make it so the people who join, only the people who join can see everything. Or you can make it open to anybody. Or you can make it into some, intermediate steps or whatever. And when I was at a conference this summer, I went to the NISOD conference in Austin, which was a fantastic conference, and people had amazing stuff. There's nursing Facebook pages where it's not even a person, it's like an avatar, I forget the name of it, but it's open to anyone. So the instructors, we met the instructors, are like posing questions, and so the students are like asking these questions, and doctors and nurses from all over the world are helping students and contributing to this page. And so it's a community that's grown wildly out of proportion, but there's experts in their field helping students learn, which I think is great. Or you can close it off, and so it's just you and just your students. So in that group, you can do a bunch of things. There's all kinds of little options and apps in Facebook. So there's like the little quiz thing. So you can enter in questions and pose it to the class, and everybody can vote. And I kind of use that for a test preparation thing. Just you can attach pictures or whatever, just every now and then, every day or so, or every week or so, or whatever you want to do. You could just write questions and post them and let the students vote on them. And the reason that's not graded, but what it does is give them an idea of how well they're doing or how prepared they are. And a lot of technology, like posting Facebooks, or YouTube videos of like dissections and things like that, are really easy to put on Facebook. And the thing that started to happen when I had my Facebook page was when something popped up, it wouldn't be someone commented on it, and either no one did or someone did 3 or 4 weeks later, like my discussion boards for some reason. It was like instantaneous. You post something and then bam, people are all over it, because if they have it on their phone, when you post something, the phone bings or vibrates or whatever. And so they're instantly, as they're moving through their life, aware of that. So you can send reminders, you can post questions, you can post videos. My narrated lectures are on a website now. Thank you, Tells. Thank you, by the way. So to get to them, you don't have to go through Blackboard anymore. You just click on a link. So you can embed the links in Facebook. And so while your Blackboard's down or whatever, you don't have to be in the Blackboard environment to listen to lectures anymore. You just click on the link and the thing plays. So I went there because they were there. And at the end of it all, I would say about a quarter of the students didn't care at all. About half of them found it mildly useful, or useful, to be fair. And a quarter of them loved it. So like the student evaluations, I mean, those are like rough estimates, but just from looking at who was involved and who wasn't, about 25-30% of the students were on it all the time. If they didn't understand something, they would question each other. There were questions people would ask them before I even got to it. It was already answered really well by somebody else, which I thought was really cool. It made, one of the things I noticed, it made me more responsible, because if I had something that didn't make any sense or a bad question, there'd be this box back and forth, like, what's he talking about? I don't know, I think he's wrong. And they'd bounce back and forth, and I'd be like, yeah, you're right. Oh. And so things would get fixed that way. But it kind of fostered an interaction that I thought was really cool, and I think most students found really useful. But I'm still kind of on the fence a little bit, because, so that's all the good stuff. Okay, that's the great stuff, and that's what keeps me probably going back to it. The thing that I kind of have to deal with is it changes expectations, the students' expectations of you. At least that was my experience. So if it's like 9:30 on a Friday night and someone posts something on Facebook, it's just common courtesy and understood that 5 minutes later I will have answered that. You know, and so the question is, I mean, are you willing for that kind of commitment? And I'm personally not. So I didn't do it this semester, but I think with more clearly laid ground rules, that problem is equally circumventable, if that's even a word. And so when or if, and probably if I do that again, I found out I need to be much more clear on, hey, you know what, Monday through Friday from 8 to 5, you can expect that to be answered really, really quickly. If it's in the evening or the weekend, that may or may not happen, so just understand that. Because I was just kind of blown away by people, because in the summer I kind of had that approach. Like I was on all the time. It's A&P, it's 8 weeks, I gotta be on all the time, but during the semester, not so much, so.
I want to know if that was, did they say to you ever, how come you didn't answer me quickly? Or is that your interpretation of what they expected?
Sometimes, someone would post on Facebook, this happened, not a lot, but every now and then. And a few, like not too long later, I get an email, hey, did you get my Facebook message? So, I mean, there was definitely like, and I kind of go back and forth with that, because I mean, this is something I'm really curious about what other people think about. Like, for a while when I first started teaching, man, I was online all the time, like morning, noon, night, weekends, before I went to bed, like all the time. And I started to question whether that was a really good idea. Like being constantly available, that makes people not so responsible, I think, and they don't have to plan and look ahead. And so I've kind of come full circle on that. And so now, like, I answer my emails religiously from early morning until 5 o'clock, Monday through Friday. And then after that, it's kind of hit or miss for me. And I'm really curious what other people do with that, because that to me is more fair. Like, I have a family, so when I go there, I need to be present kind of thing, you know? And so with Facebook, that got really, really blurry. So to use it again, I need to make that sharply defined line that, you know, it's 5 o'clock on Friday, so I'm see ya on Monday kind of thing. Yeah, and you know, I found like, so I did that with email and everything is just fine. People look ahead now, they plan ahead, if they know they're gonna need something, they email me and we get it straightened out. Like, the world didn't fall down because I wasn't on the internet at night or on weekends. And so
Experience just with my phone. I have a smartphone, I could check my work email on it, and I found that I was answering emails within a few minutes of students.
Yeah.
I've taken it off my phone. I check email during office hours,
Yeah.
that's it.
Well, I do all day, like, you know, I just have it open, but I think that's fair and that's plenty, you know. My dog demands a lot of time. When I get home, it's his time. So
Yeah. Well, they need to learn that they can also learn by themselves without having you feed them.
there's a certain amount of that too. Like, I mean, you need to look ahead, plan, prepare, and if something doesn't make sense, let's talk about it. And now you kind of have some enforced time to figure that out. So at least in my opinion, and I could be swayed by a good argument, I think that's a better way to do things. I felt for a while like maybe I was being kind of lazy, but now I think it's better. Educationally, it's better, in my opinion, right now. So.
There's a book on productivity, I can't remember the name of it, but I read it recently, and one of the points that this person made on being very, very productive is to let your clients know, he's talking about business, let your clients know exactly when you will check your email.
Yeah.
And he said no more than twice a day. So check it at 9 in the morning, catch everything that came through the night, and then check it at 4 in the afternoon, and reply to everything when you check it.
Yeah.
And make it well heard that that's when you will do it.
Yeah.
So they plan, just like
Yeah.
you said.
See, I started thinking about that because, like, so I'm just the perfect age. I got a cell phone at the very, like, midway through my undergrad. So like it's been like indispensable since then, but I went through high school and like maybe the first year or two of college, I can't remember, without one. And I remember how things were before the cell phones. Like you know what, you and I have to connect later today, so we're gonna make a plan. We're gonna meet at this time, and this is where we're gonna do it. This is how I'm gonna organize my day to make that happen and be at the places I need to be. Now with a cell phone, I wander outside and just like someone's gonna call me eventually and give me some direction kind of thing, you know, just what am I doing? And so I think there's a certain truth to that of like being off for a while to like, okay, this is what I'm going to have to do on Saturday and Sunday. Do I need to talk to my professor to get everything going? So I don't know.
I'm wondering if the interactions that your Facebook devotees had, how much of that happened without your mediation? Like,
A lot of it. That was one of the huge pluses. Like someone would ask a question, and before I even checked my Facebook, someone else already would have taken care of it. And that included multiple things like concepts in the class, questions on tests and quizzes, and like Blackboard issues, or how do you do something. Like things would fix themselves right in front of your eyes a little bit, you know, and students were helping each other. I mean, that's when people know things the best, right? When they can teach somebody else. So there was a lot of that.
With the new Facebook format, how the groups will work, because I know I'm part of like a recipe exchange group. I never see any of those feeds anymore.
Yeah, well, they did change the groups, but it was before last summer. So I have no idea how groups worked, or the old groups worked. I just use groups because I didn't have to be friends, but we could still have all the interactions. And at the end of it, Facebook wants you to be connected, and they make life difficult when you try to deconnect or disconnect. But when you're done with the semester, you have to Google the instructions on how to do it, but you can delete your group. There's not a delete group button. There's a whole, it's very quick once you know how to do it, but you'd never figure it out just by looking at Facebook, or at least I couldn't. But yeah, so you can make a group, have the class, hopefully everything is awesome, they help each other learn a lot, and then just delete the whole thing and start over.
I'm not a Facebook fan, and I actually deleted my Facebook, my personal page, a year and a half ago,
Yeah.
because one of the reasons why was because I would find that as soon as a student registered for a class, they'd look me up,
Yeah.
and then they'd try to friend me.
Yeah,
And I wouldn't know who this person was, and they'd say, well, I'm gonna be in your class, so will you friend me?
Yeah.
And so that just felt horribly
Yeah.
inappropriate and risky and all this sort of stuff. So I just got off of it completely, but
yeah,
teaching now, and my students are in a program that goes over a year and a half. So they're a cohesive group, and they will be for a year and a half. But they have formed on Facebook, they've
Yeah.
formed study groups where they're doing just what you said, where they're diagnosing Blackboard problems and finding how to work around things.
yeah,
So the medium is being used even though I'm not endorsing it as the instructor.
yeah. And so the way I dealt with that was just before I even opened the thing up was to send them a letter saying, look, I want you to join this group. You don't have to, but you can be connected, interact. Please do not friend me. It's not professional. And I don't think people were offended by that. It's just true. It's not a professional relationship if you're friends on Facebook, in my opinion. But part of a group, I don't see any difference because they can't see my page, I can't see theirs. So that I'm completely comfortable with. So, and some of the things were kind of humorous because I had, at the beginning of the semester, I had a student who was like, you know, you need to post this, I need to get it done, and I can't find it. And then one other student had posted it right below it. It was due yesterday. Things disappear in Blackboard when they're due. And that thread came to a halt right there. So sometimes it's kind of funny. So anyway, that's kind of what I did, why I did it. And I'm leaning towards going back to doing it because it really benefited a lot of people taking classes out there somewhere who could really benefit from the interaction with people. But my thing is I have to be a lot more clear on, I was really clear, I think, on my expectations for what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. But I need to be more clear on the guidelines that I'm willing to function in. So.
did you make it an open group, or you really only wanted the people that were in your class to be in it?
See, I go back and forth on that because, so at first it was wide open. And then I started thinking like, you know, we're kind of in gray area here. Like maybe I don't want someone from outside start stalking one of my students or something, so I closed it down. I figured I'd keep the world out. But then at the conference I went to, I mean, people had just amazing pages with like really good learning coming from all kinds of places. And some people would include videos, I think, of like send their students like a screen capture videos like, this is how you block me. So please block me. So people were requesting the students to flat out block them from their regular page. So even though you weren't friends, it was even another layer of like, let's keep this professional kind of thing. So open has amazing possibilities. Like you could listen to me talk about the endocrine system, or maybe an endocrinologist who's world renowned on Facebook could offer insights to people. So that the possibilities there for really good things I think are huge. But
And I wonder too about I know that Larry Froelich was kind of trying to create this hub of, Yavapai College biology, anatomy, science teachers, where you could go to one place and you could see, or it was Kelly Trainer.
yeah,
You could see kind of their course content, their work, whatever they were doing. I wonder about like a page that is like anatomy instructors, or
Yeah.
a group that is YC Anatomy, that is kind of all anatomy people, so they can see. That just might add chaos to it, but.
well, the possibilities I think are really cool. Like I thought about making a HESI preparation page. So it's like the tests all the people who are done with us have to take before they go to the nursing program. Because I've narrated Bio 156, both A&Ps and microbiology, so I have all of them. And I've had students like ask, like, hey, can I listen to these again? And now that they're online, they can. So what if there was a site that had like all those resources? You could listen to any topic in any of those fields you ever wanted. And you could communicate with people that taken the test. Hey, how did you prepare? What resource did you use? What was on it? How to go? And I mean, who knows?
Kelly Trainer, he links all of our videos together for A&P, so he's got, like, he's doing his 202 class or 201 class, but he's got another page, like, here's Matt's 202 and 201 videos, here's Ellen, and Larry's, and he's got all of it. So I've gotten a lot of people, there's a lot of people that will traffic through there. I think they're sort of test running too, because if you're in 201, you want to see, well, who do I want to listen to from my next semester? But then I get these random emails from people that will say, well, Mark Munchkin is teaching now, and so I gave him links to all my videos. So a bunch of his students had emailed me questions saying, what about this? And, we didn't go, and so it might not be an area that he went into more, but I did, and I could, and so it's been interesting fielding emails from people that are not my students because of Kelly's page linking all of us together. So it still opened up that conversation.
Yeah.
You guys are just rocking. It's super cool. Matt,
Because
I don't want to answer this.
One last thing. How awesome must it be to be a student nowadays? My entire undergraduate career consisted of an overhead and a marker. And that was it. And now everything that you have access to is just, must be amazing from a student point of view.
Well, it'd be great just for us and EMS to be able to interact with what you're talking about, because we give our students an abbreviated A&P class. I teach
Yeah.
a 60-hour A&P class. It's theoretically very, it's dumbed down a bit, but it's also very focused on things that are going to apply to field management of injuries and illness. But they're always asking questions. The students usually do want to know more than what's required in order to pass the test. So if I could somehow direct them to some of those resources, that'd be great, because then they could go into greater depth in things that interest them, or into greater depth in things that I didn't do such a good job of explaining myself.
Yeah.
So.
Go to kellytrainer.com, he's got somewhere.
Okay.
At least our links.
He's got a ton of stuff on there.
I hope that both of you guys do a session for us at the Institute. This was great. And just open, loose, no slides, no nothing, just a great conversation.
Just confused.
The story is really, it's great,
Yeah.
And I think that you bring a really informed voice to a conversation that a lot of people wonder about or not. Maybe they're just not interested. But I encourage you both to do a session at the Institute on these very topics.
Yeah. So I'm kind of interested in this, so I kind of keep an eye on the news, right? And so one thing I would say, like if someone decides even to say that they're a teacher on Facebook, or to even just that, besides teaching a class on one, you really got to make sure that every single thing you post on there, even if it's supposedly hidden, is appropriate for anyone to see. Because I don't know I'm not sure how familiar people are with Facebook, but if someone takes a picture of me doing something and posts it on, I'm really not guilty of anything, even though it sounds like it. So if someone takes a picture of me and posts it on their page, they may want to tell people who I am so they can put my name on it, and that makes it pop up on my page. Now I have the option, it's called tagging, right? So I'm not sure, everyone probably already knows this, but you have the option to take that tag off, which removes it, but not until you see it. So anything, any photographs that are taken or anything like that could potentially pop up there in a heartbeat. So you got to kind of professionalize, for lack of a better word, your entire personal Facebook page. Just because you look in the news, people are, there was one this morning, I forget what the guy did, but he was just some kind of party, probably pretty innocent thing that turned into, because he was a teacher, turned into be a really big deal. He was a high school teacher. But probably the same thing applies. Anyway.
4 o'clock, man, that was awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you.